in example 2, now we're going to talk about getting inverses from a graph. So remember that a function, well, a graph is a function if it passes the vertical line test, okay? So remember the vertical line test is if you were to take a vertical line, let me draw a little vertical line here. And if I were to move that vertical line throughout the function, I would only hit at most 1 point at any x value. And you can see here, passes that vertical line test. So it totally is a function, yes. So I'm going to write a little y there. Just say passes the vertical line test. VLT, if you're cool with that, an abbreviation there. Now let's talk about the inverse. Now we haven't talked about what makes an inverse function a function, but if you were to switch all the x and y values, you would notice that the x-axis becomes the y-axis and the y-axis becomes the x-axis. So for its inverse to be a function, it has to pass the horizontal line test. So put a little horizontal line test through that and see if there's any 2 points or multiple places where 2 points hit that horizontal line in the same value. Horizontal line test. This little pen's not working too well for me today. So I'll put a little horizontal line through that. And let's see what's going on with that. So if I were to drag that horizontal line through there, hits that point once. But notice that at 3, at the y value of 3, there's 2 x outputs. So in this case here, it's going to be a no. So this one's going to be yes. But this is a no because it fails the HLT, horizontal line test. So you know that in the previous lesson, we talked about a one-to-one function if every x value is unique and every y value is unique. Well, it's a function, but it's not one-to-one like we discussed before because, well, now you know that if its function and its inverse are both functions, it's one-to-one, but this is a big no on that, okay? So let's talk about getting some stuff from the graph. I want to know what is f of -2. You know, as far as getting them from the graph here, that's again f of -2. That's just the x value. So at -2, my output's going to be 4. But let's talk about, well, what is f inverse? Remember, this means this is a y value. That's an inverse function. So anytime you see that notation, I'm thinking, all right, well, what happens? What is the x value when y is -2? So I want to go to -2 for y. And notice that at -2, my output here is going to be 1, my x value. So that actually is just going to be 1 there. So at -2, my x value is 1, y is -2. So C is kind of similar. What is f of x when x is 4? Again, it's just like the first part of B, right? You know, if I go to 4 here, and my y value is going to be -3. That's easy enough. But now what if I change the notation? It says, what is f inverse x when x is 4? But also it says inverse, which means that this is really a y value. So I really want to know when y is 4, what's the x? So again, when you see that notation, you got to switch the x and the y value. So let's go to y of 4. Which is up here. And notice that my output here for x is -2. So when f of inverse of f of x, when x is 4, my output is -2. So when y is 4, x is -2. Have I thoroughly confused you yet? I hope not. So try letter D. I'm going to take all these off here and get all my markings off. Pause the video if you need to. Try letter D. Okay, here we go, guys. So for letter D, it says what's f of 3. That's pretty straightforward. I go to x is 3. What's my y value is, hey, it's going to be 3 again. Awesome. So I have that value of 3. Now let's switch it up. What is f inverse of 3? Well, that's a y value. So let's go to where y is 3. Well, I got two x values where y is 3. Well, we know that that's not a function, right? We know that inverse isn't a function because I have two separate outputs. So in this problem here, there's actually two answers, even though it's not technically a function. You could say either -1 or 3, right? The x value for at y equals 3 is either -1 or +3. So you have to put both of those in this case here. So that's how to take care of getting points from a graph. Next video, we'll be talking about evaluating inverse functions.